Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to this little taster of my virtual handstand workshop. Now, this taster contains the first 3 sections of 11 that are in the full workshop. So we will be going into the introduction, looking at the fundamental principles of balancing and how to use your body. Then we're going to look at actually getting your body sort of more or less into the position through a downwards dog drill, and then also a stick alignment drill on the floor. Now, if you want to get really into the belly of training your handstand and looking at the full content of this workshop, then you can have the full document for free. All you need to do is contact me either via my Instagram or my email and just say, hello, I'd like to do the full workshop, please, and I'll shoot it over to you. There are sections in there where you can work on kicking up to the wall. You can work on getting off into free space. I talk a lot about dealing with fear. There's one section where I talk a lot about how to structure your training if you're moving towards doing more of a handstand in free space and need to practice a lot. But beyond that, I will let you crack on with watching this little taster, and I hope that you enjoy it and I hope that it's useful for you. Whoa. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to my little online handstand workshop. So I'm going to go ahead and jump straight into it. The handstand is a balance skill. It's a skill which is a sequence of movements which relies on balance. Balance is not something which you have cognitive control of in your body. It's something which happens like digestion, okay? It's controlled by the fluid levels in your ears, what you can see, and your proprioception. So a combination of those things being fed to your brain keeps your body upright. Now, that idea of upright is quite key because upright is understood as standing on your 2 feet. But upright means more like uprighted. Okay? So I could be upright like this, or I could be upright like this, or I could be upright like this. What's key for balancing is that my center of mass is over my base of support. Now, the way we're going to think about that, there's a little yellow ball just behind your belly button, okay? A little yellow ball, and you're going to draw into it, drawing into your little yellow ball. Now, imagine down around your feet, there's a red chalk line, comes up around you like a box. So you're inside of this cube, and as long as the little yellow ball is inside of the cube, you will be on balance. And you can test that. You can move the ball to the edge, you'll feel the edge, and if you move it outside, you'll fall over. And you have to put something else, something underneath you, because the balancing system will upright you. Because even if I did fall over all the way to here, this is now balanced. It's not falling anymore. There's no more momentum, okay? And my base of support has changed from being that box to being sort of like a rectangle shape around my body. Now, what's quite key is that box will change regardless of what I'm doing. So if I have all 4 of these on the floor, the box is now around here. And this is the first exercise you can try at home. Draw into your core and have a go at moving the ball around. What's it like to put the weight all the way over there? And then can you move with that? If I move the ball to here, and then I move myself to there, okay? I'm just replacing things underneath the ball. Can I put it all into one hand and move around that? Or back into my feet and into my hands again and gently let my feet come off. And you see from there how a handstand action can actually start to begin. If I'm back here, I could move the weight forwards, be in my hands, and I could just choose to stay there for a little bit. And that's probably the key, is that handstand is more like somewhere that you've decided to stop for a while. Okay? What I'm going to move on to talking about in the next part is expressing force out of the body and creating that lock. And that's going to take us into our first drill for the handstand. Okay, welcome to our first drill. So, we need a little bit more knowledge. We have our concept of the little yellow ball and the red box. We know if the little yellow ball is over the red box, our body will balance itself, okay? And it will always do that. Again, that thing, if we fall, it will find a way to balance itself. So we don't really need to worry about that. We can let it carry on. But we have to consciously, because we haven't learned how to do it before, refer our weight into the ground via our hands if we're going to start doing a handstand. So we need to learn how to do that. Now, if we come back down to our all fours position, what I really like is if you dust your hands, and join in with me, join in on this part, dust around on the floor, and then start to move forwards and backwards and apply more pressure until the friction stops your hands in place, okay? So I'm here dusting around backwards and forwards, and then I find the friction, okay? So now it's locked in place, and I could actually, if I push away from it, I can push myself backwards, okay? And that opening of the shoulder is really quite key there. Look, I could push myself backwards and open up the shoulder, all right? Or if I did a little jump, whoop, I could fly backwards like this. But that locking in, that sort of frictiony, grounded feeling, is what's going to let me start to move my body up on top of my hands and to start doing some handstanding, you know? Well, you're learning, you don't know, you will know. So find that frictiony feeling at first. Let's look at this right now. Just under your collarbone, there is a little, sort of a microphone. There's a little nook, okay? On the underside of your collarbone, there's your pec muscle, your deltoid, and then this sort of little nook here, okay? That's going to be quite key. If you can get your finger into it, that's going to be quite an important point for extending the arm, okay? So find that nook. You're going to line that nook up with this part of your hand, okay? So it look like this. I've got this part of my collarbone just under there, lined up with the nook of my hand, and that gives me my sort of ideal distance for hand placement on the floor. For most people, it feels quite close, okay? It feels closer than you'd naturally want to do it. But yeah, line those two parts up. And for now, that's where we're going to work with. Once you've mastered your handstand, you can kind of put your hands any way you like. But for now, find the nook, line it up with the hand, okay? Then we've got our frictiony feeling. And that means I'm pretty much ready to start building the position, okay? So our first exercise is going to be a push from front support to downwards dog. With a handstand, we have an open shoulder position, which means the shoulder has gone from being here, this is a 90 degree, opening to 180 degrees, or thereabouts. Mine's not absolutely perfect, but this is the idea, okay? So, but we're going to do it upside down. So our first action is here. I've got my frictiony feeling set. That's nicely locked into the ground. Front support. And now I'm just going to push through the ground. I'm going to let my legs bend because I'm not interested in this being a hamstring stretch. I'm interested in opening up my shoulders, okay? Pushing through, and that nook can be useful again because I'm pushing through that nook, okay? Bending my knees to allow my shoulders to really open up and creating a line from my hand through my shoulder to my hips, okay? Nice clean line drawing into my stomach. And you're just going to move backwards and forwards between those positions. Now, I want you to work the floor. That means that you imagine like that this friction is stopping you from being able to move your hand like that. And instead of that happening, you get moved away from it. So all of the movement in your body is relative to that pressing through the floor. So it's like you get displaced by the push, okay? And that means that there's a relationship between the ground and you, which is what you need for the balancing to happen. And this is what I call referring your weight to the ground. And then you manipulate the relationship to move your body in the way that you want, okay? So I've got that frictiony feeling. You can try it even just like not in a downward dog. Just practice pressing through the floor. I'm going to say it again just so you really understand. My backwards movement here, it's not me sitting back onto my heels like this. I'm literally pushing myself backwards, okay? Pushing myself from that friction lock. And that's how That's how the whole thing works. Okay, it's a pushing yourself away. So again, come back to our first exercise. You're going to push yourself open to the downward dog. Really let that lengthening and opening. Long, 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 long. Okay? And you can just do 5 or so of these, moving yourself back into position. Cool. Okay, we'll move on to our next exercise. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next exercise. Now, what I'm talking about, this little yellow ball and the base of support, that's the most crucial thing. That's the principle which underpins everything else. And then the locking in and connecting of the hands and the lengthening of the way of the shoulders is ultimately the most important thing for doing a handstand, okay? The principle with that action of the locked in hand and the shoulder which moves away, that is a handstand. That is handstanding, okay? If you train that, your handstand will get better. However, when your body goes into a new position, a position where it hasn't uprighted itself before, if I keep that concept, it will reject it. Because as well as our body having this balancing system, which it will upright itself, and it can learn to upright itself in any position, it also kind of registers things. It has familiar positions. And that's why this position, this standing position, gets so familiar. It's why people get locked into unhealthy postures, because they become so familiar, and your body looks for the path of least resistance. So it goes, well, I'm very familiar with that. I'm going to try and get back to that position. Okay? So when we're trying to build a new position, or where we can stop in a new position, I talked about how I'm moving my weight around and I can choose to stop in certain places, okay? It can be helpful to try and teach the body what that position might feel like and the way we want it to behave whilst we're there. So this exercise is to sort of help you do that, okay? So you're going to need 2 blocks and a stick. I'm going to give you an alternative setup if you don't have a stick as well, but you will need blocks of some description or some way to elevate yourself off the floor, okay? This block I've got here is actually a little bit high, so something that was potentially 1/3 or 2/3 of the height of this would be ideal, okay? Now, for this drill, your hip bones are going to go on the block. Actually, I'm just going to go grab another one, like my very professional video making, very well prepared. Okay, so I've got a surface which has enough space. Now my hip bones are going on the edge of the block. My hip bone, okay, on the edge of the block. So I'm going to find that. Yep, I'm lined up nicely. Okay, cool. Now I'm putting this stick out here. Now look at that. My wrists are resting. My wrists are resting on the stick, okay? I'm not holding on to the stick. They're over the top of it, okay? My body is completely relaxed down into the floor. Look, I'm not here. Completely relaxed, okay? My rib cage is on the floor. Sorry, I'm bashing the microphone, so you're probably getting bangs. Right, now the first action. I'm imagining pushing this stick away as far as I possibly can, okay? Rolling it away, rolling it away, rolling it away. Next thing, I'm going to draw into my abdomen, and now I'm going to lengthen my legs out the back, okay? I don't even necessarily need to lift them up. They just need to be long, okay? And there's a continuous sense of extending. So I'm rolling this stick away, drawing up and into my stomach, the little yellow ball idea, and lengthening out the back of my legs. And then this is a position which you can just continue to build. So every time you breathe out, you're going to get longer, okay? You don't need to relax down like I did just then. So breathe out, longer in the arms, more drawn in, more length through the legs. And this is the kind of thing that you could hold for like 30 seconds. There'll be advisory things in the document, advisory sets and reps in the document. But yeah, 30 seconds or so in position. Now, this is quite a key thing. Get rid of the notion of holding a position. You are building a position, and you're continuing to build a position. Every time you breathe out, a little bit more length in the arms, a little bit more drawn in, okay? Or if you're really, really in a nice locked position, then it's just making sure that those things aren't dropping away. So you're constantly feeding them. I really like the metaphor of like a jet of water which suspends a ball in the air. So the ball has the appearance of being still in the air, but it's because of this continuous flow, continuous upwards flow. Now, there were two key things which came up in the workshop I ran the other day. Rib cage stays on the floor here. Don't lift it away because this is closing the shoulder angle, okay? The ribs come in as a result of the drawing. If you find your hips and your rib cage here, so it's my rib cage and my hip bones, I want to make those as far apart as possible and then like draw into my stomach there. But this is getting longer and away, okay? The other thing, with your legs, try not to tense them too hard. You don't want to be locking and engaging. Think about lengthening your foot, lengthening your knee, and letting your hip kind of get pulled out, or the femur is being pulled out of the hip socket. But the leg is soft and light, and it can move around like this. I'll talk about this more when we get onto the wall. But so it's going lengthening away. Okay, so let's just look at all of that again. Hip bones on the block. Yeah, nice. Resting my wrists on the stick, lengthening my arms away, drawing into my stomach using all of those ideas. So my hip bones and my ribs are going far away from each other. I'm drawing my stomach in, and then my legs are going long out the back. I'm not doing this. Look at that. So I'm keeping a posterior tilt in my hips. Long, long, long. Drawn in, drawn in, drawn in, drawn in. Good. Okay, cool. Just one alternative, if you don't have access to a stick, then you can do this exercise with two of these blocks. If you're in a yoga studio or something like that, you just go for exactly the same idea. You pop them down, set it all up exactly the same way, but your hands are going to be on the blocks this time. Look at that. My wrist is on the block. So I'm not here, on the block, okay? And then you would just do exactly the same thing. You'd move them away, draw everything into position, and you've got exactly the same thing going on. Okay, cool. So that is our second exercise. We're going to move on. Okay, hello again, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed that little taster section of the virtual handstand workshop. And again, you can have this workshop for free. I'm sending it out to people for free. All you need to do if you'd like to get into doing some more of the training is shoot me a message on my Instagram or via my email, which will be up on the screen now. The document, the PDF document that it comes in, has hyperlinks to all 11 sections, and the document also has write-ups, programs, structures that you can follow. I've put a lot of stuff in there to hopefully help you now in the beginning of your handstand journey. I am also available for online support if you would like some more help, some more in-depth just guidance, support along your handstand journey whilst you're learning this new skill. And equally, you can get in touch with me via my Instagram or via my email. But I hope you've enjoyed the video, and yeah, thank you very much for watching.